Now let's see what is an amnion. Well, amnion is a sac which develops around the fetus before the development of allantois also, right? That allantois is the layer. Before the development of the allantois, there is a development of a sac. This you can see, this is red line sac which develops around the fetus that we call as amnion. We call it as amnion. So this is the stage when the fetus is there, right? You can see this muscular wall of the uterus, and this is the placenta. Then this we have a yolk sac, and this is the umbilical cord, and the sac which is actually surrounding the fetus, this sac is known as amnion. Now this amnion sac is there which is surrounding the whole fetus. Now between the fetus and this sac, this amnion, we have a fluid that we call as amniotic fluid. What do we call it as? We call it as amniotic fluid. Now this amniotic fluid is the fluid that is there between the fetus and the sac that we call as amnion. That is why it is named as amniotic fluid. Now this amniotic fluid has many important functions, many important roles to play. So as you can see, first of all, this is the amnion, the sac, and this is the fetus. This is the fetus that is developing. Between the fetus and the amnion, this sac, there is this fluid that is amniotic fluid that I have just shown with these red dots. Now this amniotic fluid is actually preventing the direct contact of the fetus with the sac lining, with the amnion lining, right? Then secondly, this fluid is actually preventing the fetus from any mechanical shocks. For example, the fetus is in the mother's womb, and supposingly if mother falls over, then this fluid is helping the fetus to actually bear that shock, bear that physical shock, bear that mechanical shock. So this fluid helps in that sense also. Thirdly, this amniotic fluid inside this is also developing even pressure. It is also developing even pressure, right? So this amniotic fluid is very important, and this amniotic fluid is where it is between the fetus and this amnion lining. Amnion is what? It is a sac which is developed before the development of even allantois, right? So just see what we have discussed. We have discussed the first function of this amniotic fluid. That is what? The first function is that it is preventing the direct contact of the amnion, the sac lining with the fetus. So it prevents direct contact. It prevents direct contact. Then secondly, it is preventing the fetus from any mechanical shock. Prevents from mechanical or physical shock. Any sort of a mechanical or physical shock. Then thirdly, it maintains even pressure. The pressure is evenly maintained because of the presence of this amniotic fluid that is there between this amnion, this sac and the fetus. So now you have a fair idea of what is this amnion. It is actually a sac that surrounds the fetus. This is the sac that surrounds the fetus, and in between the sac we have the fluid that we call as an amniotic fluid, which has many functions to play. For example, it prevents direct contact with the sac, it prevents from any mechanical or physical shock, and it maintains even pressure. Now doctors take out this amniotic fluid sometimes to diagnose certain disorders. So certain disorders can be diagnosed by taking out this amniotic fluid. So this is one of the application of the amniotic fluid that is there to diagnose certain disorders in the developing embryo, in the growing fetus, right? So I hope that this amnion is clear to you. Just it is what? It is the sac that surrounds the fetus, and in between this we have amniotic fluid which is of vital importance.